Just so you know.
Freshly squeezed pineapple and orange juice.
Nice.
I do it right.
Yeah, let me just intro this. KUGAN CASSIUS, IFL TV, MTK Global. It's a beautiful Tuesday morning. I'm joined by the Cobra himself, Mr. Carl Froch.
How you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Not bad. What's cracking?
Well, 8 years ago today, something pretty special happened in Nottingham.
Bute. I've just put the morning after the Kessler fight, which was 7 years ago, yesterday.
Yeah.
So I've just stuck some on my Instagram, Carl Cobra Froch. Give it a follow. I'll be as famous as you one day, KUGAN. And yeah, so yesterday was Kessler, 7 years ago. And today was Lucian Bute. Was that 8 years ago, did you say?
8 years ago, yeah. 2012.
8 years ago.
Yeah,
special
fight
for me. And Eddie Hearn and Matchroom, getting back into boxing. That was kind of getting back towards big time boxing, wasn't it, that night in Nottingham for a world title, IBF title. Eddie Hearn jumped to the ring, lost the plot. Yeah, what a night that was. That was amazing. We spoke about that the other day actually on another thing we did with Matchroom. With that, is it Chris Algieri?
Yeah.
Did something with him, and yeah, we spoke about that. I had Darren Barker on as well, talking about his Gill fight for his RBF title. So yeah, it's all good. Big moment, mate. That was me. That was me coming back to Britain on UK soil, sort of not reinventing myself, but announcing myself back in Britain after 2 years on the road in the Super 6 World Boxing Classic.
Just comparing those two fights, it was obviously the situations that surrounded both them fights were completely different. Obviously, you were avenging a Kessler defeat, and the Bute fight was kind of a point in your career which was a little bit make or break, because a lot of people wrote you off for that fight. Lucian Bute was an absolute killer at the time, and I don't think a lot of people kind of tipped the way that fight panned out and how kind of clinically you dismantled him in that fight.
No, not a lot of people picked me to win, which was fair enough. I mean, I've just lost to Andre Ward.
Yeah.
In a bit of a stinker, really, over in America. And, if you was looking at me back then, you'd think, right, I lost to Kessler in a Super 6 as well. I mean, the Kessler loss was a very close fight over in Denmark, and a fight that could have gone either way. And Kessler kind of fought the best fight he'd ever fought. He was quite ruthless for 12 rounds. He was fit, tough, determined in his home, well, not in his hometown, but his home country. That was in Herning. So to lose that fight against Kessler, for me, wasn't a bad loss. Still a bad loss in terms of I lost my WBC title, but I was still in the tournament, the Super 6 World Boxing Classic. I was still in that American-based tournament. So it goes down as a loss on my record, but it wasn't a devastating defeat. I didn't get chinned. I didn't get knocked out. I didn't get stopped on my feet. I lost on points in a close fight. Roger Tillerman, the judge, who was one of the judges, was one of the pocket judges for, well, I don't want to say anything too political, but he had it really wide, but it was a really close fight. I lost the fight fair and square, but it was one of them fights that demands a rematch, and we got the rematch. We got the rematch a couple of years later at the O2 in London. So that was my first loss. And then my second loss was to Andre Ward. People didn't know how good Andre Ward was at the time. I mean, he beat Kessler and he had a good career before that, but people didn't know that he'd go on to become a heavyweight champion and do what he did to Kovalev and everyone else he beat. I still stand by the fact that I think he's a boring fighter, technically brilliant.
Light heavyweight champion, you mean?
Light heavyweight champion, yeah. He won a light heavyweight title, didn't he? And he was Ring Magazine champion at super middleweight. So you've got to give Andre Ward his credit. You've got to give him props. But I still stand by the fact that he's a boring fighter. He's not an entertaining fighter, and that's the reason why the television broadcasters in America didn't renew his contract. But that's another story. I lost to Andre Ward, came back to England, and everyone's thinking, hang on, he lost to Kessler. Looking at my record, he lost to Ward. He's getting old. He's looking grey. Is he finished? And fair enough. I mean, against an unbeaten Canadian, Lucian Bute, who's a tricky, tough southpaw, who's knocked quite a few out. And they're thinking, this could be the end for the Cobra. But little did they know, the Cobra was recharged, back with a new lease of life, under a new promotional company, Matchroom Sports. Eddie Hearn, who I consider a good friend. I mean, we've kept in touch since I retired. It's business as far as Eddie's concerned, but he does get close to his fighters. He does know his fighters and appreciate them. And you know, I like to think that he's got feelings for his fighters, and he holds a special place in his heart for me. And what we did together that night against Lucian Bute in Nottingham on free-to-air Sky Sports was, I don't know, we changed boxing. We re-injected some life back into boxing, and that was the catalyst for me to go on, and for Matchroom and for Sky Sports to go on to then what was pay-per-view back on Sky with the Mikel Kessler fight. There was a fight in between that with Yusuf Mack, which was my first mark time fight in many years, first steady fight, if you like, back in Nottingham. But then once we got the Mikel Kessler rematch at the O2 on Sky Sports box office, that was Matchroom and Eddie Hearn back flying, Sky Sports back on board with boxing, all the British boxing fans loving boxing again. And I take great pride in that. And on from the Kessler fight, obviously, we've got Groves 1 and Groves 2, Wembley Stadium. You know how it went. You know how many was there. It was big, it was bad, and it was my last fight. And
what was there? 60,000 there.
I look back with great pride. I think it was round about that figure. I never really look at the amount of people that were there. I never really mention it, but it was certainly a big occasion, a big event, and history in the making. You know, it doesn't matter when records get broken. That record was set, post-war record attendance, and I think it could have been more as well. I really do. The British Transport Police didn't want more than 80,000 there, so I think it could have been big. But it was big. It was boxing taken to the next level, and George Groves, myself, Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, and boxing as a sport, Sky Sports, was taken to the next level. That was the catalyst for what's happening. And now obviously Eddie Hearn's gone to America, and it's big and it's exciting, and boxing, everyone's back in love with boxing again. But obviously we've been hit with this. What is this? What's going off? I don't know. It's very strange. Very strange.
That rivalry between you and Groves was never ever meant to be as big as it was it? I mean, it was
no.
I mean,
it started.
Right?
It started at the press conference. It started at the press conference in Manchester. Did you say, did I ever think it'd be that big?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't meant to be that big. The whole Froch Groves thing wasn't meant to be that as big as it was.
No, it wasn't. It started at the press conference in Manchester when Groves was giving me no respect, talking down to me, rubbishing my achievements. And in my own head, I was thinking, I need a bigger fight. I've just avenged the Kessler loss on pay-per-view on Sky. Now I want to go like either to the States and fight in Vegas rather than Atlantic City. Or I want to bring a big name over from America, maybe a rematch with Ward, maybe a Chavez Jr. who people know, and just have a big fight. And George Groves, for me, and for many people, I think, for a lot of non-boxing fans, he was a massive unknown quantity. He was unknown as a name. So I was thinking, this is a bit of a step backwards. This is kind of like a British title fight between two domestic fighters. So naive of me, stupid of me. George Groves was a great fighter. He won a world title after he got flattened by me. He went on to do big things. That loss to Badou Jack was very good for his career in terms of showed how good he could be, because Badou Jack went on to win a world title and did well at light heavyweight, and Groves came close to beating him. So great fighter, Groves. And in Manchester, when all the beef began, which is what you were talking about, it was an unknown quantity. Grovesy boy was talking down to me, showing me no respect. I was fuming. I was absolutely fuming. And I took that into the first fight in Manchester. And let's be honest, mate, he beat me up for 6 rounds. He absolutely battered me for 6 rounds. I had my moments, and I took my licks. And I just started to turn it round in round 7 and round 8 and started to get to him. And the referee, Howard Foster, whether or not he jumped in too early or not, I don't think he did. I think he saved Groves a bad knockout and a bad beating. But that divides opinions, that splits opinions. The fight was stopped when it was stopped. It was meant to happen, and it was meant to create the massive rematch, which became history.
Oh, it seems like such a long ago, them fights now you're talking about, the Kessler rematch, the Bute fight, even when I was there when you fought Yusuf Mack. Just seems like such a long time ago. Does it feel like that long ago for you, or not really?
Let me just, sorry about this. Got my brother ringing me. Let me kill that off. There you go. It does feel like a long time. Yeah, it feels like another lifetime ago, if I'm honest. It was weird. When I look back and think, was that really me in there doing all that boxing and fighting in them big fights? You know, the Bute fight was mad, and my head was in a different place, and I was a different person back then. The Kessler rematch was quite brutal. It was hard. It was tough. And the training camps and all the build-ups to them fights, and the Groves 1 especially after that fight, and the Groves 2, the build-up to that, it was all massive. It was all awesome. It was all a different life, a different person. I was a different person back then. So yeah, it does feel like a long time ago, to answer your question. And it's a shame sometimes when you look back, you know, over a period of your life. I mean, it was getting on for 13 years, my professional career, which is a big part of my life. But that when you're in that moment, when you're boxing, you don't feel that you can do anything else. You don't feel that you're going to have a life away from boxing. And when you get to the point where you're about to retire, you realize that actually I don't want this anymore. So the thought of retiring for me was, I couldn't think about it. Didn't want to retire. I never wanted to leave the sport when I was boxing. But towards the end of my career, I was like, bloody hell, I'm ready to retire now. You kind of know the desire goes. You start to feel the injuries. You start to feel the camps, like the training sessions. You feel them in the morning, and you start to lose that. You start to lose that excitement, and I lost that before the first Groves fight, and I kind of tried to rekindle it and get it going again, and push myself through that second training camp as hard as I made that second camp. You know, the sparring was hard with Chris Eubank Jr. I was doing bits with Tony Bellew. There was a lot of other sparring partners coming in. And the sparring was hard and the running was hard. I've been at the EIS in Sheffield with Rob McCracken and all the young Olympians up there and all the podium squads. And every single day I dragged myself out of bed and onto the running tracks and around the running spots that we used to run. And Nottingham as well, I was running. I told myself every day, this is the last time you're going to do it. So stop whittling, stop moaning, get out of bed, go and see the physio, take your diclofenac sodiums, which I don't go near now, anti-inflammatories. And get through the camp, get through the pain, and just realise that this is the last time you're going to do it. And once I chinned Groves at Wembley, I knew it was the end. I was still talking to Eddie, and I was still, you know, I was listening to the options and trying to weigh them up. And do I really want to fight again? Do I really want to fight Chavez? Am I interested? And you know, I was still toying with the idea, but deep down, I knew. Every morning when I woke up and I didn't have to go on the run and I didn't have to go sparring and look across at Tony Bellew trying to take my head off my shoulders, I knew that it was over. And I retired at the right time, and I kind of knew I was going to retire before the fight at Wembley. But what a privileged and fantastic career I've had. I've been very, very fortunate, very lucky to meet some wonderful people in my career. I mean, Rob McCracken mentoring me and training me through my whole career, and then, you know, to start my career with Mick Hennessy. And I've got to give him a bit of credit, Hennessy, because we started the journey together. I was on the BBC. I'd spent some time on Sky. I signed into the Super 6 tournament kind of on my own with my own business. I did all that. But Hennessy was still kind of representing me at the time. And then I moved on to Eddie Hearn, who then took me to that next level because of his relationship with Sky Sports. And then I finished my career on a massive high, with no regrets at all, none. There's no regrets. So, yeah, I've been very lucky and very fortunate because it's a real happy story, my career, and I've been very fortunate that I've been able to live my dream.
You talk about Chavez there. That was probably the most realistic option for you if you were going to come back. Not come back, but you hadn't gone anywhere at that point. But if you wanted to continue carrying on your career, Chavez would have been probably the most realistic option.
Yeah, I think so, because we was looking at a decent-ish name in America. I think Ward was looking at stepping up to light heavyweight. I don't think he wanted to come to England. He wanted me to go over to the States, but the American TV company wasn't really that interested in the Ward fight. And we wanted to keep it over here. Chavez potentially could come over to England, maybe Nottingham, maybe the Nottingham Forest football ground, which would have been good. or maybe even Vegas. But he lost to a guy called Fonfara.
Yeah.
And that loss really killed the Chavez fight. But I could have boxed him instead of Fonfara. But I couldn't get my act together. I was talking to Eddie Hearn. We was trying to do a deal, and I was trying to get a minimum guarantee. And Eddie was like, no, we'll just go with whatever the pay-per-view is. And I was kind of chucking excuses and obstacles in the way, not making the fight happen, because deep down, I didn't want the fight. So that's, if I'm honest with myself, the reason the fight didn't happen is because I didn't want to fight again. But I still liked the idea of thinking that maybe I could fight once more. Yeah, about 2 years after that fight got cancelled, I never boxed. And I'd had my year and a half, 2 years out of the ring, and I was still training and still keeping myself fit. Not boxing, but running and cycling and doing a bit of weights. I put a bit of weight on. I thought to myself, I fancy a fight now. All my elbow pains have sort of gone. My hands are okay. My Achilles tendon pain in my right foot had stopped hurting. And I started running a little bit. I started training for a P company, which is the Maroon Beret in the parachute regiment. I was doing a TV show. I was going to do a TV show where I became a paratrooper. And whilst training for that, I thought, you know what? I've still got it. I'm still fit and strong, and I'm running with this 35-pound Bergen, 10 miles with my best friend Adam. I was thinking I could probably box again. I wasn't gonna, but it was 2 years after when I'd already sort of missed that Chavez boat. So I can see why people come out of retirement, they get that bug for it again. They think they're fit enough and strong enough. What would I have been then? I was probably 38 years old. And, 38's not young, but it's not 42 or 50, is it? It's 38. And look what Hopkins did into his 40s. And I'm one of them fighters that walks around at the weight. I live clean, no drinking and smoking and doing drugs or anything like that. I've always been really, really clean and healthy, and I eat well, and I watch my diet. So a couple of years after retiring, I was actually thinking to myself, I could do this. But to be honest, when the desire's not 100% there, it's pointless. It's pointless even thinking about it.
There was a couple of other fights that you were being linked with as well that I wouldn't have mind seeing myself. One was obviously Gennady Golovkin, and the other one was James DeGale.
Yeah, that's right. I think DeGale was... did he have a title at the time? I don't know. I think he was mandatory for the IBF before I retired. I think that was the script. But I'd already decided to retire. I'd already retired, actually, and I stood by it because I retired and then didn't fight again. It's not like I retired then, vacated, and then came back and boxed. And, I retired because I wanted to, and I stayed retired. But the DeGale fight for me, really, George Groves beat James DeGale. He beat him as an amateur. He beat him as a professional. And too big and too strong, let's be honest. Too much for DeGale. Very skillful fighter. Wasted talent, in my opinion, DeGale. Doesn't live the life, never lived the life. And he had a good career, didn't he? Won a title. What did he do? Did he win an IBF title? Did he beat Badu?
IBF, yeah, IBF.
Did he beat Badu Jack, or did he get a draw with Jack?
He got a draw with Jack, but he beat Darrell, didn't he?
Oh, that was it. That was a good win, that was, a Darrell win. I mean, Darrell was softened up when I backed him up and bullied him in Nottingham. Darrell came to Nottingham to try and nick a title, didn't he, in the Super Six. He came and ran and held, and basically just, it was a bit embarrassing what he did. His tactics were embarrassing after all his mouth at the press conference. I got a few shots through, bullied him around, chucked him on the floor, ragdolled him a little bit and made him realise. And then he got knocked out by, he got knocked out by Arthur Abraham and made a meal of it. So if you look at the level, I beat Arthur Abraham, I smashed Bute to bits. Did DeGale have a draw with Bute or beat him? It's just there's a lot of fighters that have softened up, and then guys have struggled with them. Like George Groves beat DeGale, and look what I did to Groves twice. And I couldn't have had a worse night the first night in Manchester. Then in the rematch, obviously I flattened Groves. So the DeGale fight, really, I mean, I know on paper doesn't mean much, because on paper I actually beat Mike Tyson. That's why you can't say on paper, but that's true. So on paper, DeGale's a mismatch, but in reality, that'd be a tough fight for me because he's skillful, he's tricky, he's fast. But I've got to back myself to beat James DeGale. I've got
to. Well, fantastic career you've had, like you said, but you're content now. I know you like to toy the idea of teasing people with a return, but I think we can all see you're quite happy and content with retired life.
Yeah, I'm 42 now, and it's tough when you get old. I mean, I'm not an old man, but you can't recover, mate. Boxing's a sport. You've got to do training day after day, 2-3 times a day, and you've got to recover ready for your next session. And when you're doing weight, what am I now? I'm nearly 14 stone sitting here now. I haven't got an ounce on me. I'm skin and bone. So there's no way I could do super middleweight. I don't even think I could get down to light heavyweight, to be honest. If I'm 13 stone 10 sitting here now, and you know, I've got to try and get down to 12 stone 7, 175 pounds. How's that going to work? It's too much. I've got a six-pack like you still.
As a cruiserweight.
Yeah, well, cruiserweights are big boys, aren't they? They're about 6'4", 6'5". Not all of them, but most of them are big, heavy, hard-hitting. And why are we fighting prize fighters? It's a livelihood. We fight for money. We fight for a living, you know? So what's the point in fighting? What's the point? Well, what am I fighting for? Am I fighting for a legacy? No. Am I fighting for the desire of wanting to fight? No. Am I fighting for money? No. And that's ultimately why we box. It's a livelihood. So, yeah, no return of the Cobra. Unless.
No, God. Don't do it unless. Carl, just sticking with comebacks, etc. I mean, we've got an influx of retired heavyweights making a potential return, whether that be exhibition or whatever. Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, James Toney's come out and said something as well. So what's your thoughts about this? About should they stay retired, or is it wrong for them?
I talked about this with Darren Fletcher on my podcast, Froch on Fighting. Podcast, right up there in the charts, leading the way. We discussed it, and to be honest, I don't like it. I mean, if Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield fight got made, I'd be tuning into it, and I'd probably pay to see it as well. Does that make me a hypocrite? I don't think so. It's one of them fights. Mike Tyson's Mike Tyson, and Holyfield, you know, you'd want to see them fight again if they were going to fight. You'd want to watch it, but in reality, if it happens, it's not going to last long, is it? I mean, they're in the 50s, and it's not a good idea. I don't think it's a very good idea at all. But, you know, each to their own. If they've got the desire to want to fight and they want to get in there, then why not? It's up to them. But I just don't think it's safe for old people for people in the 50s to be getting punched in the head and, you know, putting the body through what it needs to go through to get through the ropes, fit and capable of doing however many rounds they're going to do. The sparring's hard, the training's hard. I don't even know if they'd get through camp. Nigel Benn tried to, you know, he really wanted to come back. I spoke to him at the O2 in London about 3 or 4 months before he was going to come back. After he really wanted to come back, you know, he fancied it, and he got injured. I don't know if it was his shoulder or his pectoral muscle, but he was injured, and he realised that actually I can't do this. My body's not physically capable of doing this. So as much as the mind is willing, the body is not able at that age. So I think it'd be a shame if they came back for the wrong reasons and something happened.
Don't you think, Carl, that people watch clips of their training and them on the pads and their physique, and Tyson's in good shape, but they get carried away and they don't really apply it to the logic of actually what you just said there, of going through camps, etc., and actually fighting. They see snippets of them online of, you know, Mike Tyson's always going to look good on pads.
30-second clips. If I got on the pads now with my coach, Ron McCracken, I'd look amazing for 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I can shadow box and look brilliant because you still got the speed, you still got that punching power, because the power's the last thing to leave you. And you can look brilliant in flashes. But if I do some bag work now, like a 3-minute bag work, the first minute or so is decent. The second minute slows right down. The third minute, I'm blowing out my arse. And I'm quite fit. I'm 42 years old. And you can't be blowing out your arse in the first round, in the final minute. You can't be. You need to be just warming up, just getting going. And I don't know how many rounds or how many minute rounds these guys are supposed to be or thinking about doing. But it won't be professional boxing. It won't be championship level professional boxing. Not for 10 or 12 3-minute rounds, because it is physically impossible to do. It just is. It's just so hard boxing. such a physically demanding sport, and then you've got the mental side of it as well. So yeah, we see clips on Instagram and they look great, but that's 15-second clips, so it's not real. It's not real life.
I was talking to Tyson Fury today on a live, and I did ask him about Dillian Whyte, about his situation, because obviously Dillian Whyte's going to be mandated in he's meant to be in February 2021, but the way Tyson was talking is true. He's going to have a fight with Wilder, Carl, potentially a couple of fights with Joshua, because the unification for undisputed will trump a mandatory, which should do. Where does this leave Dillian Whyte, in your opinion? Because he's been sitting there waiting for this shot at the WBC for, it seems, forever.
It's mad, isn't it? It's such a shame, because I think he's a good fighter, a top fighter, and he deserves his shot. Where does it leave him? Does it leave him with a Povetkin fight? I mean, that's an exciting fight that hopefully will be happening at some point, but I don't know. I think the fight with Dillian Whyte against Tyson Fury is exciting. It's an exciting prospect. The rematch with AJ now is an exciting prospect. Fans are going to want to see either of them fights. The Wilder fight, even that one. I mean, because Wilder got so badly beaten by Fury, I'm not sure how good a fight that would be going into it, how good the build-up would be, but that's still an exciting fight. But I think Whyte thoroughly deserves his shot at the WBC title. But this is boxing. What is it? Fury's got a rematch with Wilder if that happens. AJ wants the Fury fight, which is a bigger fight. You've got to be honest, it's a bigger fight for AJ Fury than it is Whyte Fury. And the promoters and TV broadcasters will lean towards that over Whyte. So Whyte's been really unfortunate and kind of hard done to. He's got a lot to be pissed off about, Whyte, because he's not getting his chances. But people will argue and say, well, he was offered the fight with AJ at Wembley, which he was. I don't know if it was late notice or if he wasn't getting paid the right amount of money. But sometimes you get chances in life, you get given opportunities, and you just got to take them. You just got to jump in there and say, listen, it's a fight, mano a mano, let's get it done. I boxed Lucian Bute, which we talked about earlier. It wasn't a payday for me. It wasn't big money. It was a world title. And that's what got me back in the sport and back at top level. Got me the rematch with Kessler, and it got me the 2 fights with Groves because I won the title off Bute. So that was speculating to accumulate and taking my chances at 34, 35 years old, whatever I was at the time. And if I'd have turned that fight down and fought for a mark time fight, fought a Joe Bloggs, somebody that nobody really knows or nobody really, I don't like to say journeyman and that, but that's what I'm pretty much saying. If I'd have took an easy fight, the Bute fight might have gone away. And that whole end of my career path would have changed in that moment of that decision of I'm not fighting him. And Whyte did that when he turned down the fight with AJ. I'm not blaming him for turning it down because he had his reasons. I don't know, did he not have enough notice, or was it a financial thing? I can't remember.
I think, yeah, it would have been something around both of those reasons.
But that's what people will say. You had a chance to fight AJ there at Wembley. I can't remember who pulled out. Wasn't Miller, was it? Was it Jarrell Miller?
No, so originally there was a date that was going to be April the whatever at Wembley Stadium, but obviously when they couldn't put an opponent up, whether that be Dillian Whyte or whoever, the attention then turned to him fighting in America, in New York, which originally would have been the Jarrell Miller fight, but then
the Jarrell Miller. So he fought Andy Ruiz in New York, yeah. So he could have fought Whyte, Whyte could have fought AJ at Wembley then. So that's just that. He had his chance there. He had an opportunity, and I'm not saying he's totally wrong for refusing that because he had his reasons, but he's now got to wait to become mandatory again for the new champion who's got the WBC, which is Tyson Fury. And waiting in this game is dangerous. And look at where we are now with this virus. Look at where we are, sitting around, locked indoors, just chomping at the bit, waiting for some kind of normality to return. And yeah.
Do you know what I've been doing over the last few days? I've been compiling a list Yeah, of the best pound for pound British fighters over the last 25 years.
25 years.
Yeah.
Why not 30?
Just 25 years.
Sounds boring.
It's not boring. I've got like 4 names on it so far, guaranteed to go in.
Sounds really boring to me. That does.
It's not boring.
The top 10 pound for pound in 25 years. I can think of more interesting things to be doing. But I've got 3 kids and a new set of golf clubs, and I've got a dartboard in the man cave, and a table tennis table, and a wife. You know, so. They play to that.
Yeah, we've only got 4 names. We've still got another 6 to go. So, yeah. Any suggestions? Chuck them in.
You've obviously got me on there, haven't you?
You were the second person I put on there.
Yeah, I thought so. Standard.
After Prince Naseem Hamed.
What a fighter he was. He got me back into boxing, professional boxing, he did. No, he got me back into boxing. Back into it. As an amateur.
How do you mean? Could you expand on that story a little bit?
Well, I've retired from boxing. I say retired. I was an amateur, and I stopped going to my local amateur club when I was 15 years old. 75, 85, 1992. I moved to Newark. Mum got a pub. Moved out to Newark, the boxing club there, RHP. Remember Carl Greaves and Isham Pickering? Cool. They was in the amateur boxing club there. And I couldn't be bothered. I couldn't be bothered to go 5-6 miles out of the way from the pub I was in Coddington, to go all the way down there to this little shed in the middle of a field. There's loads of travellers in there, and it was just aggro. It was a hostile environment. The ring was small. You got 2 walls against the ring because the ring's in the corner. The facilities were terrible, and I'd come from a decent gym in Nottingham, and I was like, "Oh, this is crap. I don't like this." So I just didn't go anymore. So I had like 4 years out of boxing. And I got back into boxing when I moved back to Nottingham to start studying at Clarendon College. So I did a business and finance course at Clarendon College in Nottingham when I left school. And I got back into boxing then because Naseem Hamed was so exciting. I used to watch him and think, oh, I want to box again. And when I jumped back through the ropes as an amateur, I had low guard. I was throwing big uppercuts from out of range, walking into shots. But I won a couple of ABA titles, got picked to box for England, and then met Rob McCracken and turned professional. No intention at all of turning professional when I got back into the amateur game. But I met Rob in Ireland at the World Championships in Belfast. And yeah, the rest is history. It's amazing how your life can just, you could turn left at a crossroads and that takes you on a totally different path in life to turning right. Or you can make a decision, one decision, and stick by it and say, you know what, I'm going to give this a go. And all of a sudden your life becomes totally different.
It's mad. I speak to a lot of people when they play Prince Naseem Hamed as some sort of factor in their career. A lot of people say that's why they got into boxing as well.
I'm just gonna stand up and I'm gonna be 30 seconds. I'm gonna grab a couple of books.
I've got that book there.
That's the first book I read properly all the way through.
I've got that.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Prince Naseem Phenomenon by Gavin Evans. And Born to be King, Prince Naseem Hamed. The Rise of Prince Naseem Hamed.
And I used to have that book as well. I don't know where it is.
Lord of the Ring. So I got these books. I even took these books to Naseem himself, Prince Naseem Salam Ali Hamed, when I went over to Sheffield for a go in his Ferrari to talk about signing pro before I signed with Hennessy. And he signed a couple of pages in these books for me. And I was just so grateful and so happy to meet him. In fact, what else have I got? I've got something else in my box of tricks here. Where is it? For a drive in his Ferrari, like.
Oh wow! Cool.
So that's a Ferrari 360. 360, yeah, Ferrari 360. So back in the day, that was probably, I think there was 100 grand brand new. So that inspired me, and I said to myself, I'm going to buy one of them one day. So 15 years later, I bought one of these. That was 100 grand. I paid well over double for mine.
Yeah,
This is a classic.
It's
a classic. But I bought a Challenge Stradale special edition. But Nas was a massive influence on many things I did in my career. My style, my I don't know, my attitude as well. I was a little bit nonchalant when I boxed, and a bit cheeky and a bit leery. And it was just that input from Nas and watching him and taking bits from him. But I'm sure many people had. I've got mega memories from Nas. I went over to Vegas with my brother and my best mate at the time, Jason, and my brother Lee. And we went over to Vegas and watched the Marco Antonio Barrera fight, and that kind of killed it for me. It's that was like the start of the end for Nas, wasn't it? Lost a few quid on the little bet on Nas. Bless him, got beat up by Barrera. He went the distance, did well, but he was so unprepared for that fight, and he really could have been something special, Nas. Like, he could have, because people just like, they're rubbish him now, don't they? They just say, oh, he didn't box anybody till he boxed Barrera, then he got beat, and it was a mismatch and all that. Load of bollocks. Naseem Hamed was an amazing fighter.
Yeah, I second those thoughts.
Just a fantastic talent, really was. Brendan Ingle, when he was with Brendan Ingle, it was at his best. And once that broke down, I think that changed his. And the money as well. He made a lot of money early on, and that obviously didn't. But no, he was the reason I pulled out the books and the photos. A couple of the pages in that book are signed.
Is this open house with Froch? Can I ask you anything?
Yeah, you can ask anything, can't you? Whether or not it gets answered is another story. Have you always had a cap on? Have you just slipped that on now?
No, I've had it on all the way through. That's very observant.
Sure?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because you'd notice my hair. Look, see.
Yeah, you got hair now.
Carl, I know you probably might not want to speak about this, but can you just kind of clarify if there's any sort of situation with these comments flying back and forth with you and Joshua?
As far as I'm concerned, no. I spoke to Rob McCracken the other day, got him on my podcast, Froch on Fighting. Give it a listen. And, no, there's no beef at all. Listen, things get said on social media, and then all the little anoraks and all the little keyboard warriors type away and start giving in their 10 pence worth and giving their little injection. And things can spiral, but I don't think this has ever spiraled. I've got no problem with AJ at all. I don't think he's got any problem with me, but he's a very busy guy. You know, I'm not in his circle anymore. I don't keep in touch with AJ, but obviously I'm really good friends with Rob McCracken, his coach. So as far as I'm concerned, there's no beef at all with me and AJ. We're all good.
Did you get to the bottom of the deleted WhatsApp messages?
No, I didn't. I'll get to the bottom of them when I see him. It's no biggie, is it?
In your head, what do you think they said?
I ain't got a clue, to be honest. I honestly, I could not hazard a guess.
People love to blow things out of proportion all the time and
that's what people do.
Pick up on things and turn it into things. So
yeah, they've got loads of people doing all little videos and trying to give stick out and trying to escalate it. It's just funny. You know, some people got nothing to talk about but to talk about this and try and invent a problem that don't exist. But
you've got form though, haven't you? Like you've rubbed people up the wrong way and people have rubbed you up the wrong way during your career, but that's usually fighters, isn't it? It's people like...
Yeah, the main person that rubbed me up the wrong way was Groves before that fight, but other than that, I never really had any beef. A couple of fights early on with Michael Monaghan and Matthew Barney, British title. He was an awkward, horrible fucking bitch of a fighter, holding and running and tying you. He got disqualified. Did he get disqualified to Tony Dodson? But it was terrible. So I've had a little bit of needle throughout my career, but nothing major at all.
The only one, sorry, Carl. The only one, obviously, your rivalries. I'm not saying you're best friends with Groves, but you've been on tour with Groves. Obviously, we saw the respect between you and Kessler, etc. The only one hasn't really resolved itself is Andre Ward, isn't it? That's the only one.
Yeah, there's no real beef there though. I just have tongue-in-cheek comments giving him stick because I'm pissed off. Not pissed off, but I'm annoyed at the way in which I lost. But that's how he beats everyone. Look at how he beat Mikhail Kessler. He just headbutted him to bits, held on to him in a stinker of a fight. It was terrible the way Kessler lost that fight. It was cut to ribbons. Every cut was a headbutt. And even the Kovalev, the rematch for Kovalev, 3 low blows, for crying out loud. 3 low blows, blatantly for everybody to see. I think he was beating Kovalev anyway, and I think Kovalev kind of gave up at the end. He thought, I've had enough of this. But even so, I mean, so I just say the truth. I say really what most people are thinking. But I've got the balls to say it, and I stand by it. And if I offended anybody, good, because I still don't give a fuck, because that's just how I am. Listen, that's a line out of an Eminem song, by the way. But it's great because if you can be honest with yourself and speak the truth all the time and not care about anybody else's opinion because it doesn't matter. Somebody else's opinion on your truth. When you know your truth and you speak the truth and you're honest with yourself, it's just a nice feeling. People go through life cheerleading and kissing arse and saying the right thing and, oh, better not say that, and I don't want to offend anybody. And, you know, we live in a politically correct world now where it's going mad. But I just say what I feel, say what I think. I'm honest. I'm honest to myself. You're not going to find somebody who's more genuine than me. You can ask me any question and I'll be honest with an answer, regardless of who you're talking about, because I'm not afraid of hurting anybody's feelings or I'm not trying to score brownie points with anybody. I'm not trying to, get in with anyone. I'm my own man. I say what I feel and I say what I think. And if I'm wrong, I probably won't apologise, but I'll say, listen, I was wrong there. And if you don't like it, you don't have to listen, do you? You don't have to listen to my podcast, Froch on Fighting. You don't have to follow me on Twitter. You don't have to follow me on Instagram. You've got a choice. And all these little keyboard warriors are just it's just entertainment for me. I love it. I do love it. Sorry, I shouldn't be laughing. People do get wound up though. People do get upset.
People get riled up by you, by anything you pretty much come out with. People like,
I don't know why. I don't know why.
I don't know why either, Carl.
Success breeds jealousy. And we live in a jealous world. People always look at other people and think, what's he got? Or what's she got? What are they doing? Why ain't I got that? You know what? You know when you've worked as hard as I worked for it and nobody's given you anything. Nobody's ever given me anything. Nobody's ever gone, here you go. You can have that for free. You know what I mean? I've never inherited any money. I've never been gifted anything big. I've never been, everything I've got, I've worked for. And when you work for every single thing, I had a hard paper round when I was a kid. I had a £7 a week paper round. That was morning. That was a 6 o'clock in the morning paper round. I had one of the night paper rounds and the Sunday. Have you know the Sunday paper round where you got a big, thick, chunky ass papers with the inserts? You can't get it through the letterbox. I was cycling around all the hills in Nottingham and Gedling and Jesseps Lane up that fucking hill on a Sunday morning at how old was I? I was 11 years old. I was in the first year of the big school. 6 o'clock every morning, mate, for £7. When you earn your money hard, you appreciate it. And I've worked really hard for where I am. And I've worked really hard and fought everybody and, took my licks. I've had my operations. I've had 5 surgeries. And I don't owe anybody anything. And nobody owes me anything. But if I can say something from the heart that's true to myself and it upsets you, and I know I'm being truthful, why am I going to worry about it? Why am I going to care less what you think about my opinion when I know, as far as I'm concerned, I'm telling the truth? And that's why I'm a love or hate kind of guy. And I know you love me, KUGAN. I know you love me.
I do love you. At first, I thought, I'm not sure about Carwell.
Yeah, but when you first met me, I was fighting. And you might say, oh, can I do an interview? And I'm like, fuck's sake, I can't be arsed. I've just done a press conference for 3 hours. Now I've got to talk to this geezer on his fucking phone. You had a phone back then, didn't you?
No, it was the first time I ever interviewed you was at the Matchroom HQ when they did that thing before.
Actually, you always had a camera, didn't you?
Yeah. You remember before the Super Six? They did that. Eddie did that thing at Matchroom HQ before your.
Oh yeah. Outside in the garden.
Yeah, in the garden.
Remember that.
I interviewed you and I got lost for words, and
We might be back in the garden soon.
I know.
I remember you saying he got lost for words a little bit. He wasn't sure what to say, and he thought that.
I was a bit starstruck at the time.
You was quite new to it, though, weren't you? You was coming into the game.
Yeah, it was like the Cobras in front of me, like, you know. Genuinely, I was a little bit starstruck when I see you, and I couldn't get my words.
You soon realised there was nothing to worry about, didn't you? If you're honest.
No, you just become more of an awkward fucker over the years, to be honest. But I just learned to adapt.
No, okay. That might just be me winding you up.
It probably was.
Sure.
You still do it now.
I could sense the fear like a dog, and I was just abusing that.
Carl, just sticking with that, what do you think about Eddie's idea for the Matchroom Fight Camp?
You know what? I'll take anything now. I'd love nothing more than to go to Maskell's, which is the Matchroom Sports office in Brentwood, Essex, and stand and watch a fight. I think it'd be great. Beats nothing, doesn't it?
Mm.
I think it's a great venue. It'd be a nice setting. You'd have all the officials there. You'd have the TV broadcasters there. Would you have any fans? I'm not sure what the rules are.
No fans.
But yeah, I'll take that.
I
think it's absolutely ridiculous that we're in this position. And just unheard of and unprecedented. But we are where we are. You know? So if that's what it takes to get a boxing match back on and give boxers the opportunity to earn some money and win some titles or further their career, then I'll take it. I think it's fantastic. If Eddie Hearn can pull it off, props to him. Fair play.
Okay, Carl, I'm going to let you go. I very much appreciate your time as always.
It's lunchtime. Got to feed this machine. Should we have an ab off? I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
100% not.
Why not? Let me just check mine. Hang on. Yeah, it's not looking bad. Look at that. I've only got 4 now, though. I used to have 6. Shall I give you a quick song on the guitar before you go?
Go on, do it, please. Yeah,
no, I'm joking. I'm not going to do that.
You threatened to do it last time. Do it.
No one wants to hear that.
Do a bit.
I can actually play the guitar quite good, but my singing voice is terrible.
Do a bit of David Brent.
David Brent. I fell in love with a lady gypsy. Do you know that one? So long ago, I forget her name, but I still remember the smell of her flowers and the way my life would never be the same. La 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 la. I need to learn that one actually on the guitar. I think it's C into F into G into D. 4 chords. Easy work. If you challenge Dominic Ingle to a song, he'll give you a song.
I know he would.
And he can actually play and sing. So
he's released tracks, yeah.
If you want someone to go a cappella and have a little jingle behind it, get him on. I'm a lyrics man. But the music came naturally, so. David Brent, The Office, Song Time.
Yeah.
Have you watched all them?
I've seen every single one. I've seen most things Gervais has done, to be honest.
He's just awesome, isn't he?
Unbelievable.
I just watched that Afterlife too. It's a bit too depressing for me, though. The first one was depressing. The second one, I thought he was going to get together with that nurse. But he just spent the whole episode crying. I'm like, bloody hell, is he going to...
Yeah, but I don't want to give it away, but all right. Yeah, people might have not watched it, but...
No, that's not a spoiler, though, is it? It's like, it's quite a depressing... It keeps going. But it's still a good ending, but I think there's room for a number 3.
I think there will be a number 3.
Yeah. You remind me of that Postman.
Oh, cheers. Postman Pat.
Yeah. He likes a brass, doesn't he?
I don't know, does he?
Yeah. His girlfriend's a brass in that, isn't she?
She is, yeah, she is.
A sex worker.
Sex worker, yeah. Sex worker, not a brass. Sex worker.
All right, mate. It's been a pleasure.
Carl, thank you very much. Good to go over old time.
Anytime, mate.
and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon, mate.
We didn't get anything controversial there. It's going to get me in trouble, did we? We didn't.
I don't know. You just anything you say pisses people off, so don't worry about it.
Do I ever worry? I just asked because I was hoping there was. Well, no, nice one, Kugan. Hopefully, mate, we'll be back on it, and I might see you at my schools if they get it going. If that does happen, at Eddie Hearn's offices in Essex, when is it likely to be? Is it likely to be
18th of July?
July, yeah. And do we know the card? We don't, do we?
No, it'll be some smaller cards that leads into the 4th week, which will hopefully be Whyte and Povetkin.
Whyte Povetkin, great fight. Look forward to that one. All right, mate. You forgot to take the label off your cap. Or is that supposed to do that?
Oh, yeah, I should take it off, really. Cobra, thank you very much for your time, and keep yourself safe.
Yeah, man. Pleasure. Take it easy, my man.
Take care. Thank you very much.
I'm going to click. I never know when to leave these meetings, but you have to click the leave meeting. So I'm about to click it.
Okay.
See you soon, Cougar.
All right, mate.
Take care, mate.
All right.